I know that they've been really hyped about trying to get him onto that during some of their series, but there's not going to be today. That will be banned away. Cassiopeia and Nidalee makes sense. Scudzy is a great Nidalee player. Nidalee still can be super oppressive. Her clear speed is still good. Cassiopeia still does exactly what she did even post-nerf. Syndra, I think, specifically targeted against Brixton. We have seen a lot of Syndra bans, specifically targeted against Nocturnal Plex. Brixton is a fantastic Syndra player. Zac being banned out is, I think, A, Zac is a very popular jungle pick right now. B, Tyron is a great Zac player. And the Karma, sometimes this is just personal preference for the bot lane, usually.
And especially with that Zac ban, like, if you're playing against a jungler that's been playing a long time and Zac is currently good, get rid of Zac, because he was basically tier 1 from release for a good like 3-4 months. Like, everybody who was playing at that time, if they were a jungler, they got real good at Zac real fast. So
his engage range is just fantastic. That's what makes him so good, that you know, a bit like Rek'Sai, you can essentially have an impact from a lane at any point on the terrain. Yeah,
absolutely. And as well, you gotta always go for the style points with the drive-by smite steal on Baron if you can get over the... Oh, it's just beautiful. But we already have a few lock-ins. I will assume that the Siren lock-in of Teemo is going to be a placeholder.
I would assume so.
It is going to be Lucian that Teemo is there for. So that is going to be the Lucian Tolkien, going with the first pick of Gragas, though. Gragas? Graves.
Yeah, Gragas has lost a bit of weight and grown him. Got a hair dye as well. No, Graves, this is interesting.
He's also lost his cigar.
He lost his cigar, yeah. Gragas-esque, unfortunately. But no, Graves is an interesting pickup here for, I imagine for Scudzy. He's a very good Graves player. I wouldn't have ever thought that Graves was first pick-worthy personally, but obviously we've had some serious jungle changes. I've always still felt that the solids of just like a Lee Sin Rek'Sai, if you're going to go for a jungle pick, make more sense. But it has given over this bot lane of Lucian Braum, which we saw Braum become a massive, massive early rotation for most teams, especially Last Remedy, really prioritized Braum, and they're going to get a very strong lane to boot. But it is going to be the Ezreal and the Trundle lock-in in return here, so you can imagine that's likely going to be going to the bot lane. Orcs most played hero, most played champion in ranked is just Trundle, so...
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest as well, that Ezreal Trundle lane, I would argue a very similar strength to Lucian Braum. You know, Ezreal scales into the late game incredibly well, and Trundle, again, we've mentioned this before in previous broadcasts, Trundle is just one of those heroes that, so long as there are other tanky members on the enemy team, it's always going to be a fantastic pick.
And Braum generally will get tanky naturally, because that's all he can do as a support. So, you know, you have that element of being able to steal resistances from him specifically, and also with the Brixton and Gragas and Gnar lock-ins, you're going to have two other targets for Trundle to have an impact with. It's a very of a status quo lane, to be honest, down that bot lane, because Trundle can disengage very easily versus the Braum Lucian, but the issue is he needs to make sure he doesn't overstep his boundaries in the early lane, because he will be a target for concussive blows, and that can very easily be procced against Trundle early on, and with a gank, things could start to go wrong. So I hopefully see that bot lane play at least a little bit passive, because Ezreal's trading potential in lane just isn't good enough to deal with Lucian Braum for the most part.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, I'm going to lock in the Rise for Zandia, so we're going to have some fairly roam-heavy games coming out right here, but also a key thing is when you look across the ESL lineup right now, they are really looking towards that late game, but when it comes to the early game, they're actually going to be struggling a little bit, I fear.
Yeah, but obviously there will be some tide-over period with this Rumble being locked in now, and Graves can have an impact early game as well. But you're completely right in saying that realistically they are playing a kind of a late game orientated composition here. Now, most people think of Ryze as a late game champion these days, but actually not so much. Interesting fact, his damage output at the sort of 12-minute mark, if you manage to get Catalyst of Aeons on tier, is almost higher than any other mid-lane champion. His consistent damage output is just so good. So he can spike in the early game, but then he falls off a little bit as you get towards the late game as well. So he kind of does this. You just think about it like a double mountain. Like he has a spike with Catalyst.
He's essentially a camel.
Yeah, essentially. He's the camel of League of Legends. He has a spike with that early power spike of Catalyst and tier, because obviously his mana scalings come into play. And then he doesn't drop off totally, but he won't have another spike until he hits late game. Once defenses start to build up, you can at least deal with it. And it's going to be Orianna, another very hot pick here in terms of mid lane. Recently, anyway, Orianna's started to see more and more play. Yeah,
and this is looking like a super old school game of League right now. These are some picks that I wouldn't really be expecting to necessarily... Oh, well, not that I wouldn't be expecting to see come through, but definitely reminiscent of olden time metas, like when we've got Ryze versus Orianna in that mid lane, and then we are going to have the Gnar going up in the top lane as well, which Gnar, to be honest, pretty much staple at this point, and has been for about 1,000 million metas, I don't think Gnar has ever really not been good since he came out.
Apologies, I just realised I was still on camera, so I didn't hold my yawn in as much as I previously would have done.
Screwed your face up.
Screwing my face up like this. I was like, oh, I'm still on camera. Whoops. Anyway, so it is going to be Gnar versus Rumble. Now, Rumble isn't someone that we see particularly often, but it is because Tolkien is such a wonderfully gifted Rumble player that we'll see him come into play. And actually, I think people have forgotten how impactful Rumble can be. Actually, he's got a decent laning phase versus Gnar. It's not awful. Gnar will be able to exploit him, but should Rumble land any of those electro harpoons and have that heat managed properly, a lot of damage will come down onto Gnar specifically. But obviously, as soon as Mega Gnar comes out, you just got to run the hell away as Rumble. You can't duel that whatsoever. Scudzy on the Graves. We're going to have Ryze, Ezreal, Trundle to round out the XL composition. Now, you might be asking me, what do you think this composition does?
What do you think this composition does?
I'll tell you. They've actually got pretty good early to mid-game objective control with the Rumble, combined with the Ryze. As long as those power spikes by Ryze have been hit, they actually have got really good control around dragon areas. They've got pretty good siege. You just combo any of their skills together, and you can lock people up in the Equalizer quite readily. And Trundle always helps A, Ryze make a pick, and B, Ezreal land his skill shots. So they've got good pick here around the early to mid-game. But obviously, as the game progresses, they're going to want to sort of start to rely more on Jokerism and Zandia to carry them with that damage potential, with Scudzy just bringing it a little bit extra. My only worry is they don't really have anyone that's going to be a dedicated frontline tank. Rumble's not going to be a dedicated frontline tank. Trundle can, but only for a limited period during his ultimate, and even then, you're never going to be as good as a Trundle that has got a good solid gold income himself. So they're kind of like on this all-in composition that they need to be the one dictating the paces of the fight. They cannot be on the back foot soaking damage, waiting for the time to engage. They need to be the ones to put damage down and force the enemy team to react. If they don't, they're going to be on the back foot.
Yeah, and I'm curious as well to see how Sensei are going to play this towards the mid game, because they've got one heck of a wombo combo available to them right there. You've got Braum, Orianna, Gragas, and Gnar, all of which have massive AoE ultimates. If you can get them grouped up and get all of that CC in sequence and chain it all together, like, there's basically no fighting that, so long as you get a few members in.
Their engage is far superior to that of XL's. XL actually have the more reactionary team. I think if XL were the ones to start things like dragons and get pulled into a 5v5 where they're the ones trying to contest the territory, they're the ones trying to hold the territory, Sensei actually have a superior advantage. You only need to imagine Gnar jumping into a pit with 5 moderately squishy champions in board, combo that with the Orianna, Braum, Gragas. It's going to be pain for the XL lineup. What XL are better at doing is reacting to or contesting territory held by Sensei. Rumble just does that for you. If they have any sniff of Sensei attempting to make a play against them in a dragon pit area or under a tower, they need to be the ones to instantaneously react, throw down the Equalizer, start applying damage. Any form of backing away, any form of trying to escape or kite, they could be caught unawares and just, landed in this ridiculous wombo combo. Good thing though, they do have Ezreal, so Ezreal will always at least have that extra buffer to keep himself out and safe on the edge of the fight. But the rest of the team, then they could be falling suspect.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that they do have going though, XL, is when you've got a Rumble, you always have incredibly good re-engage. If you can set up a good Equalizer when you're on the chase, or like to turn a fight around, I mean, the Equalizer, the name says it all. It is going to just change the pace of a fight. Even if you're down, if you could get a good Equalizer, it is just going to completely switch everything up. And I'm curious to see how Tolkien is going to be able to do during this game with his Equalizer, where he's going to be able to position that.
Well, I'll tell you what, just like London Fire, hopefully be burning some bricks down, Brixton Hamiltons down. That's what we'll be seeing this time. No, I'm going to scrap that. Scrap the bricks pun. Cut.
Yeah, it was a good try, mate. It was a good try.
We had a load lined up, for Brixton Hamilton, just because we.
I was going to do them in game, mate.
You're going to do them in game, okay? Well, I'll let him do them because he had some way better ones. I'll just have to try and play it off the cuff. But we're all here for Brixton Hamilton. We're number 1 fans.
We are number 1 fans of Brixton. I'd say I'm the number 1.
You're probably the number 1 fan of Brixton. I'm just sort of number 2 fan, probably. You're the biggest Brixton fanboy. But honestly, going back to a more serious line of conversation, I actually think XL's counter engage is pretty good, but never discount the counter engage that Sensei are bringing to the lineup as well. Remember that all it takes is a good body slam. All it takes is a good Gnar into Mega Gnar into his ultimate. That kind of combo can happen quite readily. Both of the teams, I think, are going to play this quite tetchy. My only worry is if XL are the ones being proactive, and especially if they get an early lead, they're going to be the ones being proactive. They could get caught by this wombo combo quite easily, because this wombo combo from Sensei has got great zone control. They really have to keep an eye on that.
Absolutely. I will just quickly say, before we jump into the game, I'm going to be observing tonight, so apologies if we miss a few kills here and there. I will do my very best. I am a little bit rusty. I had a bit of a practice earlier today, though.
You've been treated in the recent weeks.
I'm ready to jump. Yeah, I've not been observing at all this season, which is why it's been so good.
You've been having Trid come over and do that observing for you, but now you've been put back in the driver's seat. Back to the old days of casting, where we got paid a pint at the end of the end of the weekend.
Going back to my my days in the driving seat, I'm ready to do this. But I think we are just about ready to head into game. So let me turn the chat off in game, and let's head on to Summoner's Rift for this first match of the night. It is going to be XL up against Sensei. XL on the blue side, and Sensei over on that red side. And let's see how this one's going to pan out.
So they're starting things off. Obviously, you don't ever see lane swaps these days because of the changes to towers, which I absolutely love, by the way. I absolutely love the ability to just go for 2v2 lanes and 1v1 lanes. I think it provides a much more interesting style, or at least explosive style of gameplay. You often see a little bit more ganks happen in those kind of situations. Maybe not tactically superior, but I much prefer the standard lane setups just for a general viewership experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think... especially if you can get those 2v2s going in the bottom lane, that's always great fun to watch. But I'll have to see if that is going to be the case in this matchup, or whether it's going to be a more passive style. But to be honest, I'm pretty hyped to see what Scudsy is going to be bringing to the table. I know he's a fairly aggressive jungler. I know he likes to go for those more flamboyant plays. So let's see if that is going to be something he brings in. You know, we've seen Graves used to great effect in the Premiership already this season. Sankuz was going on a tear with it in previous games. So
Scudsy's actually the main early game shot caller for XL. He generally tends to make most of the shot calling plays, which usually gets taken over, or used to get taken over, by Billy when he was playing for XL. He used to then take that over towards the late game. I know one of the issues that XL had been having is they weren't quite sure who was going to step up and take that role, but I think Scudsy's been quite vocal. So what I'm really looking forward to, though, is Jokerism on Ezreal. We haven't seen Jokerism play Ezreal in the Premiership, I don't believe, for quite a while, so I'm really looking forward to that. And Zandia on Rise. I think we should pay attention. But let's not discount Brixton. Brixton, again, he's famed for his control mages. That's generally what Brixton has played throughout most of his professional career, and now he's on that classic control mage of Orianna. This is kind of like the staple mage that everyone has had to have in their repertoire, and now Brixton gets to bring it to the field.
Yeah, I think Orianna is a similar situation to what we were saying about Zac before. Like, if you've been playing League for a while and you've been a mid laner for a while, you have played a lot of Orianna. It's just a fact at that stage. So, curious to see whether he's still warmed up on that champion or whether this is just a meta pickup. We'll see whether he's been practicing that one just for tonight. I certainly hope so, but
I imagine the bot lane is going to be fairly passive for XL for the most part, because Orcs at this point in time, he's just a very weak anti-engage support, or engage support if he gets this, if he gets some help from the jungler. I don't imagine Scudsy's going to be wanting to apply too much pressure to bot lane, just because I think the risk of making a gank happen there is just too great. I think the main lane will probably see Scudsy trying to impact. It's going to be mid lane. You at least have some CC in that lane against the Orianna, and if you can burn Orianna's flash, this is something that Vedius taught me very long time ago. If you burn Orianna's flash, she becomes one of the most vulnerable mid laners in the game. And that's something, especially when you are looking at the enemy team, you're saying, where's the weak point? Well, as a frank perspective, Brixton could be considered the weak point for that particular team. And you want to try and at least put as much pressure on you can. You've got Zandia, who's your star carry. I think Scudsy's probably going to be looking to impact there as much as possible. But speaking of impact in the mid lane, looks like Tyrion.
Tyrant was looking towards that, but I think the call came out from Brixton just saying, look, I want to get this minion wave. I don't think we're actually going to get anything. He's backed away, but down in the bottom lane, Scudsy is here, but Grissom looking to capitalize. Does get a Winter's Bite, but no follow-up going to come out from either team, and it is just going to mean that both junglers have to back away. Yeah,
and the back early there for Zandia was to start stacking that tier. What that tells me is he immediately wants to start pushing pressure onto Brixton. He wants to get that spike, start building it up, building his damage up and just putting as much pressure onto Brixton as physically possible. He actually popped Ghost to get to lane quicker, which is something that some people do when they don't have teleport in the mid lane, because Ghost cooldown is pretty short. You still have the flash available, and you're probably not going to be using Ghost against Gragas that much in particular. So that's the idea here for Zandia. But look at that, the Flux just doing ridiculous things to those minion waves.
Yeah, just such a good wave play. That's at level 4 as well. Let me just point out, it is insane how quickly he's able to deal with those minion waves, and already has his tier, and in fact is just going to go straight back to base again as well. So grabs himself some boots, looking to kind of regain that mana that he burnt to get that minion wave.
Yeah, and look at this, Jokerism and Orcs. This is exactly what I expected them to be doing in this lane, just farming up, trying to stay as far away from possible as Lucian and Braum as physically possible. This top lane will be interesting though, because I think Gragas can have an impact here, especially post 6, and I think Tolkien knows that. He's now level 5. This is a power spike for Rumble, and this is why you're seeing him managing that heat so well and going aggressive with that Flame Splitter, because your Flame Splitter damage at level 5 is insane.
Absolutely. It's going to get kited out a little bit though, and Avril about to go into that Mega Gnar, so just need to be a little bit careful. They're not level 6 just yet, but Scudsy finding an opportunity here to get some counter jungle in on the go. But in the meantime, his opposing jungler is doing exactly the same thing, mirroring each other right now.
Look at Tyron's vision control early on here, though. It's 3 wards into the red side jungle and a pink, aggressive, deep red side pink for Sensei. I've got to praise Tyron for that. It looks like Scudsy centered most of his vision control around the Rift Herald and river area, and he's actually standing on a Sensei ward right now, so they know that he is there. But I think they know that Tyron's there as well, so they're trying to at least try and bait him in, or if the gank does happen, Tyron was there to essentially counter gank.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think once again they find that the junglers are just mirroring each other and have to back away in the end. But all in all, this game's been fairly even so far. We've got a small CS lead starting to build in this mid lane, but Brixton just about evens that up again. The only significant difference really is in this top lane.
So Scudsy saw that his Razorbeak camp has gone, by the way. And also, I will touch on that CS difference in the top lane in just a second. He actually thought that Tyron was spending time around that mid lane, so was really pinging Zandia back. But lucky timing for Scudsy means he's going to pick up the River Scuttler, which will provide some protection for both his bot lane and his mid lane. But you're right, that top lane CS difference is starting to open up, and despite Tolkien actually really coming ahead in trades, Avril has really just been focused in on landing the CS, and that's something that you can find very difficult to do with Rumble. You often really focus on trying to use Flame Splitter to trade, and that really messes up your ability to CS. A lot of people will tell you Rumble is one of the hardest champions to learn how to CS properly within the game.
Yeah.
And Tolkien is actually, most people say, if I've got like 10 to 20 CS less than my lane opponent as Rumble, I generally count that as an even lane, just because of how difficult it is with Rumble to A, CS under turret, and B, try and CS and harass at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, and as someone who's never main top but has played Rumble, I can confirm that it is obnoxiously hard to CS on that champion. The Flame Splitter just so difficult to use effectively to get those minions, and often it means you end up losing the CS, but we'll see. Tolkien did go a little bit aggressive there, trying to get the trades here onto Avril. Does have his teleport available. Avril already has used his, so that could be something that comes into play in the next few minutes' time. But Mega Gnar is going to be used here by Avril, which means Tolkien, if he can get his opponent during that exhaustion phase, could have an advantage.
But also, you need to take into account, look at the early itemization coming up from Avril. Picked up a Hex Drinker. That is really respecting Rumble's damage output, and actually I think it's going to put a real stick in the works for Tolkien's ability to even apply pressure or even get a kill in lane versus Avril at this point. Essentially, just some clever itemization has meant that Avril, they're going to notice the pink ward there, and that's going to mean Avril backs off immediately. Look.
Yeah, not surprising at all. Good play by Avril there. Had already warded his Tri-Brush, and that means he gets away with his life. Over towards the bottom side, though. Did see Tyron starting to head towards it, but no chance. They're all going to back away.
Either that spells out that Inax is going back, or that they were trying to go for Drake, and with the way that Tyron is just applying vision pressure so well, I would imagine Drake will be on the cards for Sensei pretty soon. Just look at this vision for Sensei. Pink ward in the bot lane brush, pink ward in the brush in river in bot lane. Still got that pink ward deep around Graves' red, which, by the way, is giving vision of him. I think he's finally seen it now, by the way. He has finally seen that pink ward, and it will go down.
Yeah, he's going to be able to finish that one off finally, and So that's the deep vision at least gone. There is still this ward just behind red buff hanging around, and just look all over River, just peppered with red side wards from Sensei. So really good job by them. But so far, despite this vision advantage that they've managed to achieve for themselves, it's not actually netted them a significant lead.
No one's
or any lead.
No one's netted any sort of lead at this point in time. The real lead is just coming out, I think, in the slight CS advantage opening up in the jungle, which you would expect in the Graves versus Gragas matchup. Graves generally farms a little bit quicker than Gragas, and because we've had literally no ganks or impact in lane right now, you're just having one jungler try and out-farm the other. But the bot lane being back for XL here gives the opportunity over to Sensei to go straight for this dragon, and with that insane river control that they've got in terms of vision, they should get this for free. Scudsy not in a position to contest, and I don't think anyone from XL will be bothered about... Well, they probably will be bothered, but they obviously couldn't do anything about it regardless. And all this vision trying to come down, I really need to see Scudsy move into that dragon area and try and sweep out some vision, either with Zandia or his bot lane, because right now they're just not in a good position in terms of control of vision of that area. It's dominated by Sensei, and that's not where you want to be, because as Scudsy, we thought he needs to be making an impact in the mid lane and maybe in the bot lane as the game progresses, especially post 6 now. So I've got to give credit to Tyrant. He's been fantastic in terms of his vision control.
Yeah, he certainly has. So far, it's just going to be that singular dragon going the way of Sensei, and yet to really achieve anything else for either team so far. They're really playing this one super safe. Nobody wanting to be the aggressors. And I feel like the later we get in this game, like when we start to head towards 15 and 20 minutes, it's got to start to be Sensei that make things happen, because we mentioned it in Champion Select. There is some serious late game power on this XL squad, but look at this trade in the bottom lane. Grissom jumps in at the last second just to make sure that Inax isn't going to be in too much trouble. There's nobody anywhere near, and I think Sensei are well aware, considering there are like 8 wards in the river right now. Just look at this.
Top lane, there's a gank going on right now, though. Actually, Avril is going to be forced to flash across the wall. Tolkien tried to use that equalizer to no avail. Also, check out Avril's build. Looks like he's going from Hexdrinker straight into what probably is going to end up being a frozen mallet here. Oh, Tyrant, though.
Yeah, Tyrant's going to this bot lane. I don't think he's going to be able to find anything, though. Winter's Bite will not connect, and that means they can't really find themselves any kills, and they'll maybe try and push the tower, but no, decide to just back away in the end. They're going to head back to base, and Brixton is going to get warded out here, so he has to cancel his recall. Does have some mana still to stick in this lane phase, though, and Tyrant is coming on in. They're going to force Zandia away at very least. Does have both of his summoners available, so should be able to get away. And in fact, still very aggressive positioning coming out of him, no less.
He's not bothered. He knew that he was going to escape if he just ran up the side, because Scudsy was in a position to at least try and force it into a 2 versus 2. Someone needs to start going to clear that river out, though, because right now the bot lane is completely blind almost, and obviously Scudsy has no idea where he can make a move happen up there. They can't impact the mid lane from the river on the bot side. They can't impact bot lane whatsoever. Need to see someone go and clear that river out, at least try and clear the pinks off the map. It's been an area of complete vision dominance for Sensei so far. This game is very tense, though. It's close like we thought it would be. Not quite the dominance that you saw coming out from M&M in this group against Batmani Begins. Definitely Sensei proving to be a bit of a challenge here for what most people considered would be a favourite game for XL.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been incredibly close so far, and I'm curious to see what the catalyst is going to be to really change that factor, because right now it's just a 500 gold difference, which, you know, at 13 minutes in the game is not a significant amount, but Scudsy going to be walking on in, looking to contest this red buff. It has been spotted out by the ward. Zandia spotted there, but he's actually out of mana. Does get a bit of damage down, but even if he continues to chase, you can't actually do that kill. You don't have the mana available. Tolkien going to drop the equalizer, but to no avail. Scudsy, though, does take the red buff, so at least they got something out of that.
Yeah, minor advantage, but do you know what? Good presence might... Oh, actually, Orcs!
Oh, here we go. Orcs is locked up. Inax trying to get this damage dealt, but is going to get subjugated in the end, so needs to be a little bit careful. Orcs will be able to regenerate a lot of that HP using his ultimate. But the disengage once again comes on through, but here comes Brixton sneaking on down through the jungle. Will get spotted by that ward, and this should be the sign for Jokerism and Orcs to just back away. This tower will be going down, so they need to be careful. If they go near the ball, they will get hit by a shockwave, but here we go. Tower has gone down. That is going to be first Brixton Hamilton going the way of
Brixton
Sensei.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
First Brixton Hamilton going the way of literally Brixton Hamilton.
Yeah, the first Brixton Hamilton gold. But here we go, fighting the top lane as well. Tolkien is very, very low on HP and is going to get chased down. Does have to flash in the end. Avril gets his Hex Drinker procced, but he's more than happy with that. Means he wins the trade and means that he can just push this lane on it.
Yeah, and this is something that I think Hex Drinker really adds to the matchup. Had Hex Drinker not been there, that almost certainly would have been a kill going over to Tolkien. So, really good presence of mind by Avril to delay the general build for Gnar, because Hex Drinker really isn't as bad for Gnar's build as you might think. He really relishes the AD, and that magic resistance is fantastic. But it looks like we're going to get a lane swap because that first tower did go down.
Yeah, so Avril heading down to this bottom lane, and he's going to be more than happy to just clear the waves, and especially at this level, even if he ends up in the 2 versus 1, which we know he's not going to, he would be quite happy with that matchup. As Gnar, you're quite happy to just continue to clear the waves, and against Ezreal Trundle, there's not really any pressure that they're going to be putting on him anyway. Again,
Tyrion with this deep warding coming out, and no one from XL has yet cleared out that river whatsoever. And that's just going to mean that next dragon is already under control, especially with Avril being down there. It's already under control right now for Sensei. XL need to step this one up to be able to put pressure on. Maybe they don't want to fight, though. Jokerism, isn't really sitting on a huge power spike. He's only got that Mirror Mana compared to the... well, Mana Muni, rather, compared to the Ghostblade. And Ghostblade comes out from Inaxi. What? Whoa, what?
Yeah, massive fight in the bottom lane as First Blood does go down. Avril managed to trade it though, so 1 for 1, but Scudzy, he's not done just yet, and he's looking for blood. Has the collateral? No, he's used the collateral damage, and he's low on HP. He's in trouble, and Avril picks it up. Brixton manages to save his top laner. There's the shockwave, and Avril survives. What a play coming out from Sensei.
Oh, Scudzy just getting minion blocked in terms of his basic attacks. They were huge right there, meaning that the red buff wasn't proccing properly onto Avril. The Hex Drinker came out as well because I think he procced it with the smoke screen. So huge play right there for Sensei, and they're going to walk away with the dragon too. Brixton Hamilton, by the way, what a play with his shockwave as well to just shut down Zandia in his tracks. That exhaust proving incredibly useful. Good start right now for Sensei, and what is happening to XL? That the team that most people thought would walk away with it are really struggling here against Sensei.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the timing on Brixton's arrival as well. Comes in, gets to that bottom lane, then drops the shockwave down on them like a ton of Brixton Hamiltons. And Tyrant just going to be able to steal away that Scuttle Crab. And, well, we've got a lead now, finally. It's been neck and neck for the first 15 minutes, but Sensei have started to edge this one out slightly.
Yeah, exactly. They've only just started to find their gold lead, but is it enough right now? What was the second Drake? Was it another Ocean Drake they just picked up there?
I believe it was 2 Oceans.
Two Ocean Drakes, yeah. So that's the second Ocean Drake potentially picked up right now for Sensei. It's going to give them great sustain. Whether they need that or not at the moment is begs to differ, because obviously laning phases...
As Orianna, I'd say that's pretty great.
Absolutely. I guess, especially against the Rise, you want to be able to continuously... I mean, look at the mana regeneration. It's already fantastic right now for Brixton. And you just outrange Rise, obviously, with that command attack. So if you continuously get mana back, you don't even need blue buff to trade effectively in lane. And he's caught up and overtaken in CS over Zandia as well. So, wow, Sensei looking very solid at this moment in time.
Absolutely, and getting this pressure down to the top lane there. 1 tower ahead, and they're looking to turn it into a second. Look at the minimap, though. There's nowhere on the map that XL can capitalize on this. They can't trade a tower at all, so it's just free gold going the way of Sensei. Fantastic stuff from them. Fantastic just map awareness and just having this complete control. They go where they want, and they have complete vision at all times.
So this is a number of reasons why this happened. Tolkien can't push in against Avril right now because the Frozen Mallet is there. You see that he can't get anywhere close. He just has completely at the mercy of Gnar pushing this lane. So that meant the bot lane turret was never going to be on the cards. Ezreal Trundle is never going to push versus a Lucian who's now almost nearly finished his Black Cleaver. You're never going to push versus him, and especially since you're only sitting on your Sheen and your Mana Immune at this point in time. So the wave push and the ability to trade in lane is well in favour of Sensei right now. And with the wave clear that Brixton has and his ability to push with that double Ocean Drake against Zandia, I genuinely feel like until we get to a skirmish situation, or until we get to a team fight situation, XL are just going to be continuously pressured in these lanes.
Yeah, they certainly will be. And across the board, we're starting to see The CS still relatively even, but we do have a pretty significant advantage in that jungle. Scudsy actually building himself up just over a 30 CS lead over his opponent, so he's going to be quite happy with that one. And as well, up in that top lane, the CS differential is just going to continue to ramp in favour of Averil, but Tyron does get spotted by Scudsy, but I'm not sure this is one Scudsy can go for right now. Brixton going to be able to grab his blue buff.
Yeah, he's going to be able to take that one away. Only add to the efficacy of that Mountain Drake. Scudsy, with that small CS advantage, that is essentially what's going to have to be the bigger impact factor, I would say. I think Scudsy's going to have to come into his own right as a damage dealer, and especially since the next dragon isn't too far away.
Yeah, Averil's found himself in a bit of an awkward position, but Scudsy's actually incredibly low. Tolkien drops that equalizer quite early on in the fight. Averil, he's going to be looking for Mega Gnar. He's no longer exhausted. That's ticking up incredibly quickly, though. Doesn't actually want to get that at the wrong time, and I think that is going to be about to be popped. So, unfortunate for him, it is going to be going to waste, but in the end, they're not going to go for the fight anyway, so not the end of the world.
Jokerism takes a lot of damage right there from Winter's Bite.
It's crazy how much that does.
It's
I'm always impressed by the damage of Winter's Bite.
Especially when you get 5 levels in it at level 9. It's just insane damage, Winter's Bite. I really, genuinely, if you manage to land it on a squishy, it can chunk away a good 5th to 6th of their HP. It's pretty fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, Averil down in this bottom lane consistently just shoving these waves in and making sure that it's difficult for Tolkien to really achieve anything. He's actually going to be going to base, so Averil probably will follow suit and is going to head back himself as well.
There's a lot, okay, because of the way this is played and because XL didn't really put any pressure on Dragons, they've actually lost a big opportunity to accelerate from their mid-game Rumble, because Rumble is just so fantastic at fighting around enclosed areas like Dragon Pit. He's got a really good siege as well, but because of the way the lanes have been pushing in, and because obviously Averil and Tolkien in that lane is just completely in favour of Averil, they can't make a use of any of the reason they picked their composition. They're now really just vying on waiting for Ryze to ramp up and waiting for Jokerism to hit those late game spikes. My only issue is Zandy has gone the Ryze build that I don't particularly like, which is the basically the Morellonomicon or whatever it's called now into Rylai's, because that name always changes, right? It's still called Morellonomicon, right?
I always thought it was called Morellonomicon. I wasn't aware that they'd changed the name of it. But.
They changed it at some point from some other name, but now it's Morellonomicon. But I much prefer the Rod of Ages build, to be honest. I just feel it makes Ryze a little bit beefier as a front line and gives him a bit of a spike with the Catalyst of Aeons. But this build means he can get these skill rotations off and does a little bit more damage, I would say, in a teamfight scenario. It just means he becomes a bit more of a high priority target because he's easier to burst down.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking at maybe a bit of action in this mid lane right now. They're trying to get some pressure onto this tower, but XL not quite going to be able to find the damage they were looking for. Will have to back away. They've always got to be careful in this situation. With that top lane tower gone down already, Averil is going to be more than willing to come for a flank in this mid lane if a fight really kicks off. And
obviously he's going to be more impactful coming from a flank position generally, especially if he's about to hit Mega Gnar, than you would see Tolkien have a flank position with. I know Rumble can be fantastic, but he's a bit slower, he's got no gap closing abilities, and look at this. Another dragon easily being prioritized here by Sensei, but maybe XL are going to contest this one.
Yeah, it's going to reset as well, and actually XL arrive on the scene now. They might be able to just steal this one away. They need to make something happen, and they do. It's actually Jokerism that picked it up, so... Oh, Grissom unfortunately completely misses ultimate. Solo kill from Tolkien in the top lane. There's a shockwave only onto Zandia, though. And what on earth is going on right now? Sensei, they had the lead, but it's just not working out right now. Tyron's locked up, and he'll be going down as well. There's one for Jokerism. And we've just had everything evened up. The gold lead is basically gone. What just happened to Sensei?
Okay, right. I'll give you a little breakdown of what I saw based on from the map. Essentially, Averil tried to flash in and stop Tolkien from teleporting, rather than just teleporting himself and going for a 5-on-5 team fight, which actually I still think Sensei are strong in. He was like, I know, I'm going to be superhero, stop him from teleporting and then teleport myself, because Rumble can't stop me. But he did it under tower, so he took a huge ton of tower damage, and Tolkien just chased him down, and now that he's got that Liandry's, he's actually starting to chunk through Averil quite readily, because Averil's gone like this pure health build as well with the Frozen Mallet. So that's what happened there. And then obviously somehow XL came out on top in terms of controlling the Baron area.
Yeah,
they got the dragon area. They got the dragon, And then it just felt like Sensei weren't willing to commit without Nah. And that was the issue. I think they weren't willing to commit.
I've got to say, though, with a Gragas on your squad as well as a Braum, I don't think they needed to back away quite as kind of... They looked pretty terrified, to be honest, of fighting at that point, which I feel was strange considering they haven't had a fight that's gone badly so far this game. They maybe could have made something happen there. Tolkien obviously didn't have his teleport available, so...
But he did, actually. That's the funny thing. He had his teleport, but that was his point. He wanted to block the teleport from Tolkien, and then Averil would teleport himself. Then Averil just teleported back to lane just now. So both of them had their teleports available, which is why I found it odd that Sensei didn't just go straight for the 5v5.
Yeah, I cannot answer that question, I'm afraid, friend, but...
Sorry, friend.
Sorry, mate, but...
I guess they should just focus on improve.
GG, go next. No, but this is still a very even game between these two teams. And we'll see. Oh, Brixton actually caught out here. The Pillar of Filth, a.k.a. Trophy Cabinet, will come out, but not actually going to be able to lock him down too strongly. Well,
Brixton's made of sterner stuff. He's made of bricks.
He is. I would say he's made of a ton of bricks, if I had to describe the amount, but... just going to be heading back towards that mid lane as the top lane tower has gone down, so let's even things up in terms of towers now as well. And actually we're starting to see for the first time this game XL are the ones in the lead. They're the ones that are starting to actually take control. Zandia though is in trouble. He's already incredibly low. There's an exhaust and will get finished off. Inax grabs the kill for himself, and in the meantime we've actually got Averil, was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but he's been allowed to just walk away from this one. Yeah, and
Jokerism's having none of that. Trying to apply as much pressure as he can, but can't go toe-for-toe in basic attack trades with Nah right now, who's sitting on a Mora Mortius and a Frozen Mallet. He hits pretty hard, especially with his 3-hit of Hyper. That's pretty heavy hitting, and here comes the defense of the mid lane. Tolkien deciding he wants to use. They're going to go in, though.
Shockwave goes down. Tolkien's in trouble, and there's the flash from Tyrant. Finishes that kill off, and that is how you get punished for using your ultimate right there. They're like, you know what? If Equalizer's down, what have we got to fear? The mid lane is dead. We already know that. So they're more than happy to go for that dive. And now the pressure continuing in this top lane. They're going to steal away the blue buff. And it feels like Sensei, they've just decided that they are back on top of things. They still don't have anything to fear, and they're willing to go for these situations.
I've got to be honest, XL just are completely guessworking what is going on here for Sensei. Their vision control has been so much poorer than that of Sensei's. You saw that their entire blue side jungle has been lit up, and they had no idea where exactly Sensei were going to be, and that's why they couldn't commit any resources. And you're seeing here it's paying out for them, but here comes Zandia.
Yeah, they're coming in from the side. The tower will go down, though, but Avril is in trouble. Does still have that Hex Drinker available, and the rest of the team is around him. Scudzy went down. I didn't even see that.
There's a 1v1 in the jungle. Scudzy got 1v1 by an axe, and unfortunately, therein lies our brethren, Scudzy.
Rest in peace, friend. Oh, I missed that one completely. Apologies. Next week, Trade will be back, and it'll all be fine.
Next week will be better for sure.
Maybe it will be on Twitch as well. Who knows?
Who knows?
But but yeah, so Scudzy unfortunately losing that 1v1, and all in all, it's just Sensei yet again winning a fight. They've managed to just about eke out a gold lead once again, but we're actually already heading towards the 30th minute of this game. This is starting to become a fairly long one, and to be honest, a fairly passive game from both teams. We've only had 5 towers go down across the entire map, 3 dragons, and just 9 kills. So still, it's going to be Sensei with an ever so slight lead, but we are going to start to head to that territory where Jokerism's Ezreal will become a significant threat that has to be dealt with.
Yeah, once that Blade of the Ruined King is finished, that's kind of like the spike where Ezreal becomes a serious... whoa, whoa, whoa. Tolkien, my friend, like a story from a book, has taken out the Hobbit of Inaxe, cut him down in his path. And the dragon, breathing fire, has won once more. He should be called Smeagol, really.
What, if he's a dragon?
Isn't that what the dragon's called, Smeagol?
Smeagol is Gollum's Hobbit
yeah.
name.
What's the dragon called again?
I can't remember. Smaug.
Smaug. I was close.
There you go. But here we go. Brixton heading up towards this top lane. The Shockwave whiffed and immediately pops his Master A emote. Beautiful stuff coming out from him.
If you didn't know, the Brixton Hamilton, he is actually a sub for TSM.
Yeah.
Hence why, you know.
He's also a huge TSM fan. I don't actually know how true that is. I'm just going to claim that it is, though. And now we're going to see a tower go down in this bottom lane. So again, this gold just about even, barely 1,000 different between the two teams, and everything still neck and neck. And I don't know what it is about this matchup specifically, but neither team seems to be able to hold on to a lead. Whenever we see one of them start to edge out, whenever we see one of them really start to gain a lead for themselves, the other team just manages to get back on top of things. And here we go, XL starting off the Dragon, but the fight is going to kick off as well. Grissom has to jump over to his friend in Tyron, but that is the Dragon go down. Scudzy smites that one away. That's going to be all she wrote. Nobody follows that one up at all. And it's just going to be another Dragon for XL.
Got to give it to Tolkien. He's been pretty fantastic for XLs, being able to set up opportunities with his 1v1 kills. And now he's got that power spike of Rylai's and Leandri's. It's actually going to be very difficult for anyone, I would say, but Gnar to go toe-to-toe with him in lane. And even Gnar will start to struggle, to be honest. But Gnar.
You're a bit of a butt Gnar,
You're a bit of a butt Gnar, mate. Also, really pay attention, even though Scudzy has been, kind of like falling on the wayside in terms of his prowess, in terms of ganking and 1v1s, his farm compared to that of Tyron's is insane. You know, you're only 40 off a Flame Horizon here in the jungle, which would be a real feat, I would say, for Scudzy. So he's picked up some key items for Graves. The Berserker's Greaves came a lot later than I would have expected, but he's picked up the Youmuu's Ghostblade, and now very close to his Morum and Mortius as well. So he's going to be a real chunking damage dealer, but again, therein lies the problem that no one is really going to be that huge tank for XL, apart from Orcs when he has his ultimate up and available.
Yeah, absolutely. Avril now finished the Guardian's Angel, so he's going to be even more of a pain for the XL squad to deal with. But so far, they've managed to find themselves in situations where it's not really been an issue that Avril has been pretty big, pretty difficult, because he's not actually been in a situation where he's been able to use that gold lead effectively. He's not been able to really make a difference. Well, the later we've got, the worse it's been for him, at least. And let's see whether that's going to continue to be the case, because it's Tolkien. He's kind of the shining light right now for XL. He's the one that's really pulling ahead and actually making a difference in this game.
I still don't think he can duel Avril, though. That's the issue for him. Zandia has been shut down time and time again, forced to pop that Ghost once more. That exhaust has really been pulling the plug on Zandia's Sink of Dreams. it's really been an issue for him. Yeah, I don't know if you've commonly coined phrase, the Sink of Dreams.
Yeah.
You know, you like flush your dreams down the sink, in the Sink of Dreams. Yeah?
Yeah, I guess. Kind of. Not really. Here we go. Inax pushing forward. He's going to be looking to sink the dreams of XL.
You sunk my dream.
You sunk my battleship.
Yeah, I was trying to do it in that phrase, but it says you sunk my dream, but it didn't work. You sunk my dreamy ship.
He doesn't sound like that. He's got an old man voice. You sunk my battleship.
You sunk my dream ship.
Oh god. What have we resorted to?
Mate, we're not on Twitch today. There's no rules. Yes, just so you know, there are rules, guys. We can't.
Yeah, Moobot still exists. Or does it actually? Are there chatbots on? I don't even know. Who knows?
Who even knows these days, my friend?
I know Grow Score's available on other platforms, so there's that.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Is that a nose job?
He has. Why we not talk about that, though? I'm looking forward to seeing the results as much as anybody, but right now there is some serious League of Legends to be played.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's first esport nose job. But here we go. Jokerism's been hit by a Winter's Bite.
But look how much...
Actually, Roundwalk comes down into the bottom lane by Zandia, but doesn't achieve anything. Averil's happy to walk away.
Look how much damage Inax took just from a couple of basic attacks and a Mystic Shot from Jokerism. Yeah, you're hitting that real power spike surge here, Ezreal. And he's about to up it even further, having just head back to base with a little bit of gold in his back pocket.
Absolutely. And well, now we're starting to get towards that Baron stage of the game where both these teams are going to be looking towards the big purple...
How close the gold is, Joe, by the way?
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's actually ridiculous.
I think XL would have been hoping for an easier game than this, but I've got to give it to Sensei. They've played incredibly well. Big props over to Avril and to Inax. I think they've both been fantastic. But honestly, look at Brixton too. One whiffed ult, that's usually okay. He's had like a 75% success ratio with impactful Orianna ultimates. So
I think as well, Orianna's one of those champions that if you whiff your ult, it's so painfully obvious. But here we go, that ult isn't going to be whiffed, and Orcs is just going to be obliterated. Scudsy having to collateral damage just to get away from this one. Zandia escaping as well. True Shot Barrage doing barely any damage from Jokerism, and he needs to be a little bit careful on this one. Does not want to get caught out of position and will have to just blink over the wall. And there we have it, just a singular kill going the way of Sensei, but advantage going their way in terms of positioning and in terms of vision control of this Baron.
They're not going to Baron. I thought they were about to start Baron, and I was like, no, we've seen what a...
Please, guys, no.
We've seen what an Ezreal and a Ryze can do when you try and start Baron against them, because they are so non-committal and they can get so much damage down. Before that, it's pretty crazy. Jokerism gets locked up here. Oh, and Inax, he's trying for it, but doesn't manage to land the concussive blows.
Yeah, Inax so close to getting that one. Did get one Light Slinger passive off, but didn't quite have the range to get that final auto and stun. But regardless, Inax actually doing a fantastic job here on his debut game of the Premiership. 3-1-0 so far, 322 farm. At 34 minutes in the game. He's doing a phenomenal job here on Lucian.
Against, like, you know, one of the top 3 AD carries, probably top 2, him and Toaster AD carries from the UK, and Inax has been fantastic. Also picked up a rapid fire cannon here, heading into some more critical strikes. So extending that range, that one enraged. I was about to say enraged. That one enlarged ranged auto attack could be the matter between getting a concussive blow procs on Jokerism or not. So interesting pickup choice there. Helps his siege potential too. This has been such a stalemate, and with the Elder Dragon spawning and only 3 kills and 1,000 gold separating the two teams, you can't help but feel that one team fight could almost decide it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Averil's been caught. He does have a Guardian Angel, but definitely doesn't want to use that. And in fact, Tyron just going to use his Explosive Cask to make sure that fight isn't going to happen anytime soon. And I think that was definitely the right decision. Averil does have his teleport. He's going to go back to base, but I don't think anything's too crazy is going to be kicked off the back of this anyway.
The more and more I see of these team fights, the more and more I feel like it's a matter of time before Sensei hit the ultimate wombo combo and just like steamroll the game.
Yeah, well, I think so far the team fights have just been non-committal, right?
Yeah,
Neither team is really willing to risk getting caught in, because when you consider it, both teams have a wombo combo, right? Well, one of them is less about the CC, more about just pure damage, because you've got Equalizer, True Shot Barrage, and Collateral Damage. If that lands onto a group of you, you are going to just be all deleted immediately. So it's definitely a two-way street, this one, and either team could get a combo off. However, I think you're definitely right that when it comes to that style of team fight, you've got to give the advantage to Sensei.
Absolutely. So here we go. Avril pushing in that bottom lane now. And there goes Nah.
Great commentary, mate. That was good. We don't usually play-by-play the CS thing. But
well, I'm not a play-by-play. I don't know what the rules are.
You are a play-by-play now, though. Kind of.
I have done play-by-play moderately recently for Vainglory. Other MOBAs.
For other mobile MOBAs.
For other mobile MOBAs that I may or may not be. Am I allowed to mention that on stream? I'm not
Probably not.
Yeah, well, let's not.
But
do
here
it
we go. It's going to be Grissom pushing on forwards. Does get a Glacial Fissure, but doesn't actually get too much CC. Nice flash forward by Tyron, but here's the fight. Tolkien with an awesome equalizer onto all 4 of them. They're going to be dropping. And that is going to be Inax actually going back in on this one, looking for Orcs, but gets exhausted. Nice use of that summoner, holding on to it for the entire fight, and that's actually going to save his life.
Oh, they're going to try and bait the Baron here. They don't want to start it. Brixton will be able to use... Oh, they go straight in!
Beautiful stuff coming out there. Jokerism jumps over and deletes Brixton. Averil trying to get into this fight. In fact, Jokerism just jumps forward to finish Inax. Averil, he's actually going to lose his Guardian Angel as well as his life at this rate. I don't think there's any way he gets away from this one. He's going to be dropped. Zandia and Jokerism will be here to finish him off once again, and it's going to be the ace going the way of Jokerism. Baron is available. Death timers are still incredibly long for Sensei.
Sensei. Big misplay in terms of the way they want to play these fights. A, unfortunately, Brixton whiffed his ultimate completely. And B, the best combo you have as Sensei is sending a Mega Gnar in and landing a Gnar ultimate and having an easy time with your Orianna ultimate. They didn't play it that way. And honestly, when it comes to a 4v4 without Averil, I just give it every day of the week to the 4 of XL Esports, with the flank by Tolkien. I mean, you heard us go insane for it. What an equalizer. Caught 3 people up and allowed the rest of XL to collapse down. And they get the Baron off the back of this. Gotta say, the bait by them using the vision control that they previously had set up was fantastic, and Jokerism, well...
Oh dear, Grisson's caught out. Zandia picks that kill up basically for free. Not a position that he should have been in at all at that stage, but the vision control that we've been praising Sensei for all game is all but gone at this stage. It's all defensive vision right now, and the Elder Dragon will be going down to XL here. There's no contestation whatsoever from Sensei. Tyron is vaguely near, but he's off doing the Gromp, and that is going to be the Elder Dragon now taken away. XL, I mean, we both said that these guys were the favorites coming in. It looked like it was going to be super close the entire time, and you said it right. You hit the nail on the head when you said there's going to be a single team fight that just about decides this game. I think we might have just seen that in the last team fight, because right now XL look commanding.
Yeah, they've finally hit that late game of Ezreal Rise, and even to an extent, Rumble with the Leandries and the Void Staff. His penetration is just huge.
Oh, Jokerism's caught. They can't quite finish off the kill, though, in Inax. Almost trades his own life for it, so both AD carries narrowly survive the collateral damage and the True Shot Barrage. The shields have to come out. Aegis to the Legion, the only reason he's alive right now. But in the meantime, Tolkien's just pushing.
Brixton has shielded Dandy as well, or Tyron rather. So just to put a little bit of more pressure onto Inax there. But again, I mean, that has all resulted in a lot of resources spent for very little gained for Sensei, and it's going to mean that XL are able to push forward and up towards this top lane. Fantastic, fantastic performance so far from XL. Jokerism expending everything to survive, by the way, but him surviving is crucial because it allowed XL to maintain their pressure, take away the rest of the Sensei jungle, and it's just a matter of time, you feel, before these inhibitor turrets come into play.
Yeah. Definitely going to be the case here. Baron still going to be on the members of XL, but not for too long. They've only got just over a quarter of it left, so they need to make something happen soon if they want to use that tool to siege on in. They have fairly decent siege anyway with Ezreal. They're going to have a lot of poke available to them, and the Equalizer can easily secure yourself a tower just by using it to zone away the opponents, force them back away from an objective, and then just use that opportunity to push on in. But Elder Dragon about to time out as well, so if Sensei can just hold on for another 30 seconds or so, they will be able to survive these buffs.
They will indeed, and actually, with this Baron buff, there isn't, apart from Brixton, they really don't have massive amounts of wave clear, but they have enough, I would say, to be able to survive the pressure that the Baron can put out for XL, which is why I kind of want to see that split push pressure come back. I want to see Tolkien and Zandia head to those side lanes, but at the moment it's Scudzy putting pressure there. They're going to try and go for a very close-knit 1-3, 1-4 split here. And they're going to, as soon as you draw Brixton to a side lane, that's where your wave clear goes for Sensei, so that's the pressure that XL can put down. The only problem is when they want to siege a turret, they have to get close. And to get close is where you play into the favor of Sensei, and they really want to be just poking at max range with Jokerism, trying to get as max range damage down with Zandia, and I expect that's probably what we'll see continue XL to do. That sentence made no sense, but you know what I meant.
I know what you meant, mate, but it's going to mean that actually we're at a point in the game now where the buffs have run out once again, and I feel like Sensei, if there's an opportunity for them to get back in, it's going to be now. It's going to be over these next few minutes, because people are starting to get to that 6-item threshold, so the gold lead will stop to matter within the next few minutes. And that means as well that without those buffs in play, without the Baron and the Elder Dragon, there's not really a significant advantage in play for XL. So we once again just go down to those team fights and who can really win out.
Absolutely. Tyron and Brixton again just trying to put their bodies on the line for this wave clear. And it doesn't feel like XL are finding much of an opening. It's such a status quo. Even with that at Trundle, which with the pillar you can zone so easily from turrets. And that's what they need to do. They need to try and get the pillar in a key area, try and zone Inax away and put pressure on, but they just aren't able to do it. It feels like a very slow process, but Zandia going to be the one to get the brick down, and Brixton Hamilton.
Beautiful flash comes out from him, but a lot of damage as well. Zandia's in trouble. Tyron going to look for the knock-up, but has to back away in the end. Middle tower goes down as well. And that's going to be 2 exposed inhibitors. In the meantime, Tolkien pushing in that top lane. Zandia are just going to continue to layer on the pressure, trying to make sure that they know he's threatening that bottom lane inhibitor. This is great pressure out of XL, but can they finish off one of these objectives? No is the answer. They're going to have to back away.
The first Brixton Hamilton that fell for the Sensei base, claimed by Zandia. And they managed to get 2 inhibitor turrets out of it as well. And Zandia escapes with his life. So really good pressure by the XL boys here. And they've just got 1 more turret to crack. If they get a clean sweep of these inhibitors, it's almost lights out for Sensei. And especially with the build you're seeing coming from Inax, it's really just getting completely outscaled at this point by what Jokerism is bringing to the table. I think Jokerism's actually full build now as well. Picked up a Moore and Malmortius. And I love the fact that Moore has been prioritized by these AD champions on the side of XL, because they're just so scared of what Brixton could do given the time. You know, if he gets a good ultimate coming down, that could be, you know, lights out for both Jokerism and Scudsy. So they go for the Moore because they realize that that shielding is just so important. And now they're going to start to apply pressure to top. Feel like without those inhibitors, you know, you need to start putting pressure in other lanes too. So we'll have to just see. Maybe they set up for Baron as well, Munch.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see that be the next call, especially with it being up in just 35 seconds. And as well, we've got the matter that they won the Baron last time, right? They've got kind of that confidence behind them, but as we've mentioned a few times this game, look at the Wombo combo available for Sensei. No matter the gold difference, no matter what has been going on in the game, if you're going for Baron against a Wombo combo, it is always going to be dangerous. There is no situation where a Wombo combo can't just win a fight like that when you're in that Baron pit. It's such an enclosed area, it just plays into that style.
Absolutely. Orcs now fairly tanky, so really can be that front line for XL, especially once he steals those resources. He's picked up the Randuins too, so, you know, even if Lucian does get into the front lines... Oh, wow, Tyrant going in!
Yeah, here we go. There was no Shockwave available, though. Didn't have the ball onto his jungler, and Tyrant is going to be the first one to drop. That's Scudsy picking up the kill, and Avril is all on his own. Gets hung out to dry.
Oh,
there's a 4-man Shockwave coming in, but where's the damage? Where's the follow-up? They can't get their kills, and there goes the top laner. Disaster strikes for Sensei. And unfortunately, while it was a nice 4-man Shockwave in the end for Brixton, he needed to have it when Tyrant first went in.
He needed to have it instantaneously onto Tyrant when he made that massive flash engage onto the rest of XL. Unfortunately, then they went in one by one, and the 2 tanks that you needed to combo Shockwave with to apply mass splash damage were both dead by the time the Shockwave came through. And Inax couldn't commit any further than that, because realistically the Shockwave, while it was amazing, it didn't pick anyone off. It wasn't impactful enough to say we can instantaneously win this fight.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was too little too late at that
too
point.
little too late for sure.
Here we go. The inhibitors are going to be dropped. That's the middle and bottom. In the meantime, Scudsy trying to push in the top lane, but actually going to get punished for that one. So at least a slight silver lining coming out for Sensei, but I really don't think that that's going to be enough to get them back in the game at this point. 2 inhibitors down. That's going to be a lot of pressure coming on into their base. And well, with Baron on the cards still for the likes of XL, it's really going to be a difficult comeback at this stage.
Yeah, if a comeback at all, to be honest. It really relies on all of the cogs working in perfect synchronicity for Sensei Gaming. They really need to make sure that they have that Gnar ultimate into Orianna ultimate into as a big amount of damage that Lucian can put down as possible. Otherwise, I just don't see many ways that they actually get back in here. The late game powerhouses are just so too far online right now for XL Esports. Jokerism, massive damage output, as this says real. Zandia just with the very aggressive Rise build, the Rabadon's Morellonomicon variant, picking up the Ryalize as well to help control the fight for the Equalizer. You just feel like it's too far into the game. We're 47 minutes in, by the way. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is the point as well. I was mentioning earlier, when we get to 6 items, the gold lead stops mattering. Brixton is already at the 6 items. He's got 495 farm. So he's well and truly done at this stage. And you've got everyone else just about finishing off their builds as well. Inax going for that Hex Stringer. He'll be looking towards a more Malmortius as well. He's got 1,500 in his pocket.
5,000 gold over on Scudsy, by the way, compared to Tyrant. Scudsy's got a singular 5,000 gold lead over his opposing lane number.
What a baller. Similar amount of gold difference up in that top lane. 3,000 for him. And a couple of pretty big ones across the board. But regardless, right now, it's less about gold and more about the pressure that these minions are going to be pushing on in. Because there's 2 super inhibitors. There's 2 inhibitors down. That means the super minions will be pushing. But this Baron buff once again, not really being that effective for XL. They're really struggling to make the siege happen.
The hard thing is that they can't split push, because if they get caught out in a 4 versus 5 with the really good engage coming out from Sensei, then they're going to potentially lose their entire siege altogether. So they feel like they have to stick together as a team at this point, which I think makes sense. Just let the super minions do as much work for you as possible, and you're seeing they are starting to push in now. They are starting to push in that bot lane, they are starting to push in the mid lane. And you remember, every time a Baron wave comes to this tower, that siege minion will start to put pressure on by itself, and it's very hard to take that out without committing as Sensei. And this is what XL are trying to crowd around at this point. They're just trying to really allow this siege minion to do all the work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that it is going to be able to at least chunk down that tower somewhat, and they'll be able to finish that.
Baron's gone now.
Baron, as you rightly say, is done for at this stage, and Brixton going to continue to just wipe away these waves. But here comes the equalizer. The 3-man knockup comes out from Grissom, but I don't know if it's enough at this stage. Scudsy has to flash away, and this is a particularly non-committal fight from XL. They don't want to die for this one. Tower finally goes. There's a shockwave that matters. They finally get a kill. Sensei going to be leading this fight 1-0, but they lost the tower for it. There goes a shockwave. Doesn't finish anyone off, though. Or should I call it a true shot barrage? Orcs going to have to back away from this one. Jokerism jumps forward aggressively. Can he find anything, though? He's going to be slowed by the boomerang from Avril. Grissom going to be knocked up by the Pillar of Filth. Inax still very healthy, though, and he's got a lot of damage at this stage. Jumping forwards, gets hit by those harpoons, though, and has to back away. Brixton being forced away by Tolkien in the meantime, and that is going to be the top laner going down. Tyrant survives, though. In the meantime, Scudsy so low, and he will get dropped. Nobody dies for the side of Sensei, and there's 3 casualties for XL.
And all of these inhibitors are soon to be coming up as well. They managed to fend off that siege. XL just got a little bit impatient. They saw Brixton dealing with those mid waves and were like, hey, we need to go now. We've lost the Baron. Our entire siege has just been thrown down the pan. And they go in with an equalizer that wasn't that impactful. It didn't really hit many people in its realms. And now it looks like Elder Dragon is on the cards. They want to go straight for that as Sensei.
Yeah, they certainly do. There he is, the big old beastie. That's what they're going to be going for. I'm going to turn Fog of War back on before I forget to. Here we go. With 2 members down, this should be a fairly simple pickup. True Shot Barrage is going to be available, but that's about all that XL have to even have a prayer of grabbing this one, and I don't think Jokerism will even go for it. They have no vision. It's going to go for the True Shot Barrage, but it's blocked by Grissom. Nice little Unbreakable comes out from the Braum. That's going to mean Elder Dragon going the way of Sensei. They managed to get 2 Ocean Drakes earlier on in this game, so that is going to be fantastic news for them. Now they've got basically unlimited regen on all of their players.
Yeah, that's massive for them. 3 open inhibitors, though. There's no sieging left to do for XL. Do XL just try and play around the next Baron that comes up in a minute, or do they try and risk going for a full-on 5v5? We're practically at full builds for everybody right now, Munchables. You can see, actually, Orcs is prioritizing having pink wards in-house still over potentially getting another item. Whereas there's no space for pink wards for Grissom, who's gone for a Zeke's Herald, by the way. Try and accentuate the damage output that Inax is going to have during team fights.
I'm actually just going to ruin your day and point out that Grissom does, in fact, have a pink ward.
Oh, he does.
So both supports going for a pink ward there.
Where's Grissom's pink ward?
He just placed it.
Ah. He didn't have one.
He placed it there.
Did he sell a Giant's Belt for that, though? And then rebought a Giant's Belt?
What a baller.
What a baller.
Still, it didn't have that much God to play with either, so brave plays coming out from the support. But, I mean, every little bit of vision helps at this stage. True Shot Barrage goes all the way across the map.
Oh, it takes out the tower. Literally, the tower outside the rift is gone.
I mean, we've been mentioning about how XL Siege hasn't been fantastic this game, but he manages to take down Helm's Deep. But joking aside, Baron has respawned. And this could be Sensei's opportunity to really make their comeback in this game.
They're just going for it.
Well, yeah, I suppose when you've got the positional advantage and you're this late in the game, the damage is obscene. They can melt this health bar down. Culling actually used there by Inax doesn't really achieve too much. And there is going to be the equalizer with 4,000 on the Baron. Avril goes in. It's going to be Brixton managing to get that kill onto the enemy jungle. A nice exhaust onto Zandia. That is going to be huge. And Zandia goes down. The Baron goes the way of Sensei. XL are falling apart. 2 kills go the way of Sensei as well, and Jokerism trying to do what he can, trying to get the poke out, but it's just not going to be enough.
Yeah, they're looking for a flank play as well with Avril coming in from the side. Are they going to be able to catch Tolkien off here? Here comes Avril.
Tolkien comes on in. It's going to be Avril, Tolkien, sorry, all on his own on this one. And Avril jumps over the wall and mushes him underfoot. And here come the Baron up minions.
This could be game
Dragon
almost.
Buff has ended, but you're absolutely right. There's over a minute on Tolkien's respawn, 30 seconds still on Scudzy and 40 on Zandia. This very well could be game. We've got the Ghostblade coming in from Inax, and look how fast these towers are going to melt down. Jokerism and Orcs, they've got to pull something miraculous out of the bag if they want to stay on the map right now. This is a ridiculous comeback from Sensei, and to be quite honest, this is a game that they should not be winning. They have no right to be winning this match, but they don't care. They're going to be taking down these Nexus towers, and after a 54-minute epic, it is going to be Sensei taking the Nexus and taking the game while still 3,000 gold down.
I feel like the silence is completely necessary there because honestly, I really did not expect that from the way they were going. But XL made one big mistake.